Good morning from the top of the Western Conference and going to be for at least the next month. Welcome to Ball Watching. Welcome to St. Louis City SC, the number one team in the Western Conference, one of the top five in the MLS right now. Who would have thought? Not me. That is what I can say. And probably if anyone else is telling you that they thought that for this first season, Justin's pointing at himself right now. I call BS on that. Unless you want to give me your claim, Justin. Do you really
Dude, I
feel that way?
told you, we were on so many podcasts and other ones before this. It was cup or bust. I'm sticking with it. It was a
All
joke.
right.
I'm kidding. It was a joke at the time, but starting to feel that way.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. I mean, we're getting deeper into the season. I feel like the haters are starting to lose ground here. It's like the runway is getting shorter and shorter, and we keep piling on more wins and more points week by week. And I'm thinking to myself, what are people sitting on at this point? The only thing I think people can maybe say is we'll see when we head into this last stretch of, I think, 11 games we have left of mostly good teams in the Western Conference. We'll see how we fare, which is, I guess, fair. But I mean, to do the business and have 41 points through this point in the season with a month-long pause now to get most of our stars back, I mean, I'm very optimistic.
I mean, the only thing people are going to be sitting on like, oh, well, Miami didn't have Messi when you played him. It's like, what are we supposed to do with that? There's, dude, so many. There's always an excuse when we talk about anybody that tries to talk about this team. But we are so far. We're halfway through the season now at this point. Top of the table, nothing.
Yeah.
I want to hear crickets.
People might see this right now. I tried something different today. Justin and I were going back and forth here, but I think maybe for the recap episodes, we're going to tap into our little bit of creative potential that we have in our lives and see if we can come up with some sort of catchy, punny, more accurate headline versus just recap every single episode. So the title here for anyone listening that's not seeing this visually is "No Messi Here. City keeps a clean sheet against Miami," which I thought was very pertinent. I mean, Messi was announced yesterday. Obviously, was not joining the team. Wasn't able to make the trip down to the Midwest to see us take them on. And a clean sheet, always great, dude. Wait, do we have 7 now? Holy cow, that's awesome.
7 clean sheets.
We've been compiling those recently. That's
dude.
Great.
I didn't even realize that you changed the name on this. But you texted me that. I'm like, sure, we can do that next time. Like I already sent you the thumbnail for this.
You like it? No, I think thumbnail.
That's good.
Thumbnail can stick. This is the attention grabber here.
No, I like it. I like it.
Let us know what you guys think. We'll try to tap into that and keep those.
Ever since you've had Will, the dad jokes have been top notch.
Yeah, absolutely. Knock them out of the park here. But hey, knock this out of the park. One word summary. Justin, what do you feel in the wake of a 3-0 dub against Inter Miami, who is now, I think, bottom of the MLS?
Absolutely. So I reached out again. It's been a bit. Reached out to Miss Julie. So I actually was at Eric Church last night. And I streamed the game while I was there. And I asked her, I was like, I need a one-word summary. It's been a month or so since I've asked her. And so she didn't give me a word, but it's an Eric Church song. Bad mother trucker. City is a bad mother trucker team. Eric Church played that last night. I mean, 3-0 dub Miami at home. And the place looked like it was rocking. I know you were there. Electric. Just was there. I mean, we have low lights we'll talk about. Very few.
Yeah. That's fair. You know, if you're going for a phrase, I might go for a phrase here too, because I was trying to find a way to condense this down to one word. So I'm going to say set piece tacticians last night. These guys were pulling every string. I heard in practice, and I said this in my tweet, but I heard in practice they were working on some stuff because they knew Miami was pretty crappy at defending set pieces, and we delivered 3 last night. So just absolute tacticians. I think it was Carnell gave credit to Alex Langer, who's the goalkeeper coach, John Hackworth, and I think they have a set piece specialist coach as well, who I don't think he name dropped specifically, but a lot of teams do that because it is such a great way to churn up opportunities and goals.
2 things I'm going to say real quick. You said Miami was crappy. I'm going to say they were messy.
Yeah.
In their set pieces. And then also, nice dad joke. I'm trying to stay high with you there. And then also set piece specific coach. What a job. How do you get that?
I know. No, it's legit. It's legit.
Can I does he need an apprentice?
I don't know how you get qualified to do that. You know, like what's your resume look like to say that you're a set piece coach? I mean, because you're thinking big throws, you're thinking obviously corner kicks, and you're thinking direct and indirect free kicks. Those are kind of your opportunities there. Maybe even Remember the U.S., Justin, when they played? I think it was in the Nations League final when they had that really cool, not set piece, but right off the blowing of the whistle when I think the first or second half started, they had this whole play where usually a lot of teams do the same thing every half. They kind of just load up
Yeah.
one side of the
Yeah.
flank and they all run and try to win a head ball. The U.S. did something totally different. So I think they have people's minds that are literally working on how do we go from a dead ball in a more unique scenario to create havoc.
I just don't really get what that guy does on a day-to-day
I
basis.
don't either.
Sure. Yeah.
I
Great.
don't either, but
Glad
I
we have him.
would
I
love to
mean,
be him.
apparently he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're looking at performance, I'd say he got an A plus in this one. But let's talk through some highlights, Justin, in this game. The first half was full of them. We had, and the second half, to be honest, as well. I mean, it was just kind of a game where we took advantage of the opportunities on the set pieces, not as much in the open play. And there was a lot of good individual performances, I think. So there was some great work by Alm in the very beginning of the game to fight to keep a ball in on the end line, keep the chance going. We had two great corners right away in the first 5 minutes. I think Indy and AZ delivered both of those because they were kind of rotating those last night. And we talked about that specifically in the last game against LAFC being a weakness. So what more do you want from a team to directly respond to that adversity and that weakness by just totally changing it, flipping on its head last night? Because I mean, that's where we got all of our goals. But even on the goals, even on the times we didn't score, it was so much better. Balls being whipped in, getting past the near post, and just creating a mess in that box.
AZ did it. Leuven did it. Indy did it. Everybody was on point with this. Like you said, set piece guy, A plus when we're giving grades out later. Also, but yeah, and also even before we get to the set pieces and the goal that then eventually came in 28th, but on 22nd, we had a nice little pass from Blum that gets us through. Indy takes a space and rips a shot. So I love that. It was an easy save, not a great shot by Indy, but he'll get a hold of him, but keep ripping him. 26, Parker gets behind for Sam, who wins a corner kick for us, which I absolutely love. And then the goal comes. Indy to a Danaran on the corner kick. Sam just gets straight up. And Jake, my favorite thing, well, 20th minute, that was already a fourth corner, which is absolutely awesome to see for us with how high we play. And then also that header by Sam down and into the corner. And then his celebration doesn't go to the corner. That man runs straight back. He is ready for more. He is absolute business.
I love that. He's got this mentality about him for sure, where I was scrolling through his IG last night. Definitely a guy that believes really strongly in his faith as well, which I love to see that. I mean, that mentality and that fortitude, especially, being sent down on loan and then coming back up, I'm sure mentality wise, a lot of people would struggle to adjust there, but he's making himself right at home. That was a great finish on the corner kick. And I think he had an overall pretty effective game as well. So I agree with you. Definitely means business here. He definitely also has those moments too, where he can flick it to himself. He can flick it around guys, use his size and just brute physicality in the game to beat guys. And he's winning second balls. He's winning headers in the air on the first ball, super aerial. And he's not afraid to take shots on target either. We saw another good moment in the 36th minute with AZ springing a ball over the top to Stroud, who just couldn't finish right into the chest of the keeper. I think it was probably our best open play chance of the night, and unfortunately, he could not convert. But guess who bet Stroud shot on goal last night?
Dude, we got to talk about that more. So we were at the pitch. Shout out to the pitch. You were like, oh yeah, I'm taking Stroud shot on goal, and I'm like, at minus 300. That's what it was on DK, and then on your book. Not naming book, at minus 125. I was like, absolutely, let's hammer that. That is shop around when you're looking at bets, because the fact that he was minus 300, yes, he's going to get shot on goal, but never take that just in case. Because I don't think he had one last game. We were talking about betting it.
Yeah, no, right. I just feel like he in the beginning of the season, we used to see stats about his shooting grade. He's not afraid to pull the trigger, and he's got a good shot. We've seen him, obviously. I think he has 4 goals this season and 4 assists as well. So he's playing a different position in this format, which we'll get to. But I do like that almost recurring bet, because I just feel like it's going to hit, because he had 3. He was our leading shots on goal.
I was about to say, then on the 38th, he had another one. He carries it up. Shot rip from the corner of the 18. Fine, love it. And then 2 minutes later, City goal. AZ to Parker on the corner kick. Wow. So that kind of gave me the chills when I was watching it. I was like, it reminded me, like, when you're a center back and you get it for a corner, you are just absolutely hyped. I'm getting the chills thinking about it right now. That man got up. So there, I was like, oh, are they just not marking this guy again? And I rewatched it a couple times. No, the guy was literally hugging him at first. And then let's go. And Parker, just too big of a man, gets to the near post. Great header off the back of the post. Great finish.
There's a really good shot of his celebration too. Just mid jump, like fist pumping, I think in front of the supporters
It
where
was.
that goal
Yeah.
was, right? And in that header too, he did this recently where it's almost like, for someone that doesn't know soccer that well, there's so much pace on a corner kick. You don't need to give it all that much. All you got to do is kind of keep it on its way and guide it to where you want it to go. So Tim Parker kind of runs and just glances it off the side of his head just to nod it to the far post. Obviously nicks the far post. I was worried it was going to be kept out, but it just skids right in. And oh, it was just such a great moment.
Dude, the biggest things for corners is the key word there is redirecting. I mean, so if you think about it, the ball is whipped in from AZ on that side. So it's an out, it's curling out. But you think about the spin, and when Parker heads it, it spins right off his head too, right into the corner. He did a perfect job on that.
He
Very
did.
textbook.
It is textbook. No, that's right. You know, another thing I saw, this is now kind of getting the second half highlights, is let's talk about defense a little bit, because we definitely had to do a little more defending in the second half. They were a little bit more of a threat. And Josh Yarrow quietly rising up the depth chart. If I am being totally honest, I mean, he's got that ball comfortability at his feet. He can distribute well. He's also got sneaky recovery speed. And last night he got beat pretty soundly in the 50th minute and then just turned on the Jets, put the physicality in as well, shoulder to shoulder with the player. I'm forgetting who it was, and won it back. Like and it was right in front of me and it was poignant. I was like, that is a good defender who is able to lick his wounds quick, jump on the recovery run, and make a big play and turn it around and go the other direction.
I wouldn't even say that he's sneakily climbing up the depth chart. I mean, the man has been a staple
That's
these
true.
past couple games. The unfortunate, when we have Nilsson coming back, we're have to do it. We're have to have a good problem of having too many center backs and too many defenders. When I know we talked about it just on 590 The Fan on Friday, that like, yeah, our defense has been a little shaky, but I mean, Josh is stepping up. I mean, Bartlett did it for a while as well, and we're just having a guy fill in. Parker's been a staple. I will say he's had a couple blunders here or there, but overall been great. But Josh, absolutely climbing the depth chart. And I will say it's great to have those guys in front of a guy like Berkey. Two great saves in the 52nd and 54th. 52nd was that one right off the line where the ball came all the way across. He kind of went down first on the right side, made a great recovery, and kind of just basically just do anything you need to do to keep it out of the net. It was very close to going over the line. Great save there. And then on the 54th, there was a shot, I think, on the near post, and he dove. And he is so good at holding on to the ball. It's insane.
Yeah, the lack of rebounds that he gives up is a big asset of his too. He's got the cushions for hands. The ball hits there and it just stays there. And the lack of second chance opportunities off of shots, that's a metric that people track. And he's got to be one of the best at just making sure it stays within his realm, his zone, and he's not coughing up, juicy rebounds like you see like in the NHL. Like a goalie that can't keep that puck is going to be very leaky in front of net because you're just creating havoc in front of you.
I was going to say, I think like in the MLB, if to test for steroids, they need to test him for like spider webs. That man can just absolutely just snag any ball. There's one laid on too. Is like, oh, it's going way over the bar. Nope. Just jumps up, grabs it, lays down.
Just snags it.
Yeah.
You know what else was good to see last night too is an extended cameo and some big minutes for Leuven. And we saw much more the Edu of old in this game, and of old being like 4 weeks ago when he was healthy. But he looked good, and he came on in the 60th minute, so played about a half hour. I think we kind of switched our formation to a 4-2-3-1 when he came on, shifting Nico up into the middle of the midfield diamond and then putting AZ out in the right where ND used to be. And he looked good. I think he had a lot of good, dangerous moments on free kicks, obviously with his big goal. But I think he did a lot better job getting involved, connecting the play, getting the ball at his feet, not being afraid to stick some tackles in. So I was really happy to see him. In the 63rd minute, we saw some good hold-up play by Nico. Dropped it to Edu, who just ripped one. Wasn't a great shot, but that's one that we know how lethal he can be from distance. And I love that he's feeling the confidence again to be able to rip, because obviously you see what he can do with the dead ball, but even in open play, I am team whenever he is within 30 yards, go ahead. Like just go ahead and have a rip.
I will never be upset and be like, oh, he shouldn't have. Edu Leuven should not have shot that shot. There's no chance. That's also kind of how I feel with Celio as well. I mean, his feet after he got in was incredible, but we'll touch on more specifics on that one. But in the 64th, we had AZ all alone, opts to cross it and shoot instead of shooting it, which is fine. We're just trying to get a little bit closer, a little better shot, but he can also take some rips as well. And then on the 71st, we already talked about set piece specialist. Edu whips in an absolute great free kick from the right side. leads to an Ostrak shot, top of the box after it came back out. But it's just good to see us putting it back in. I know you mentioned on the last recap, Jake, Indy was not getting a couple of those over the first man. Every one of those, Indy, Leuven, all those guys were getting every ball whipped into the great spot with pace.
Yep. Which is all you're asking for. Just put it there and give our guys a chance. Celio made a nice cameo last night as a sub, just turned a defender out of his shoes. And after Leuven gave him a nice feed through and just put it just wide of the side netting. People thought, I think he had scored. He just got such composure on his feet and dribbling ability. He that was on display a couple of times and in limited minutes last night. So people were in my section were going nuts just watching it, just the talent he's got and the confidence he's got for such a young player, which is got to be so great to see. We saw Berkey also contributing with the feet last night, just laced one through to Stroud on the wide left flank. And Stroud kind of carries it the rest of the distance, rips a shot. Blum was carrying on the overlap right behind him. I don't think he saw him in time because otherwise we had numbers and it could have been another big opportunity. But otherwise, dude, I go back to Celio again. I mean, he is sneakily, I think, cementing himself as first man off bench status. And he could push to start maybe some games as well. But I really do think giving him minutes against somewhat tired legs in the second half is a recipe for a disaster for an opposing team. Like he has such good technical ability. We already mentioned that, but putting him in fresh against tired legs is dangerous.
Dude, he's got speed. He's absolutely one of those guys that when I would play defense, like when you see him coming at you, when he gets downhill with some speed, the faster he goes, somehow the better he is with his feet. And like he will just absolutely just extremely shifty and cross you up, rip a shot on net or lay it off for someone to do a nice, easy finish. So Celio is probably, I'll say right now, Jake, I think he's my favorite City player.
I like that. He's got a great attitude as well. Like always comes out hungry. So I'm with you.
All right. Anybody knows Celio? Get him on the podcast. I heard that his mentality and just his personality is incredible. I feel like he would be a great interview to have on as well. But getting back to it real quick, in the 80th minute, our goal, the Leuven free kick from the top right of the box, far bender to the far post. I will say Calendar was for sure cheating. It probably should have been saved. I rewatched it a couple times. I'm like, how did that go in? I mean, great dip. It just came right over the wall, came above the crossbar and straight down into the upper left. But I looked at it after when the ball was about to be hit, he hopped to the side that would be right over the wall, which is understood because that's where a lot of guys put it. But he definitely cheated a little bit.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that's why I took my wife to this game and I was talking to her right before. I'm like, this is going upper 90 near post. And I think Drake Calendar might have heard me because he started shifting there right away as Leuven was about to take it. And Leuven says, psych. And he goes the opposite direction. And I will say, even if he wouldn't have cheated, the Drake Calendar, the goalie there, it still would have been a tough save. It would have been like a bottom hand, fully outstretched save. But just because he shifted just a little bit on his own line, put him out of position for this. And when Leuven hits it with that much pace in a good placement as well, that's going to be a lock set goal.
Yeah, I'll shoot Edu a text to make sure he sent you a thank you card for telling Calendar to cheat on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great job, Jake. I appreciate that. And getting into the rest of the highlights real quick. Ostrak, great ball into Stroud with a chance there in the 83rd. Nerwinski with a nice side volley off a corner, which I love to see. He actually that thing didn't rotate. He had some pace behind it and a great save. And then in the 88th as well, Celio, another one-on-one, great dribble. Easily gets by the guy and gets a corner, which the corner that we taken, Edu took really quickly and just gave it right to Celio and a nice ball whipped in and just missed wide by Tim Parker. Could have been another 2-goal night for Tim.
We saw some good professionalism last night too at the very end. You know, first of all, hey, we survived the 80 to 90 minute period. No goals in this one, which was great to see. And we actually saw guys taking it into the corner last night in the 90th. I forget who it was, but I'm like, okay, great. Everyone kind of gets what's going on here. We've got our 3 goals. Let's just keep this, put a lid on it and go home. And we also saw our first yellow card in the 93rd minute from Yara, which that's got to be the longest we've made it without getting a yellow card. I mean, we might have had a game or two where we didn't get a yellow card, but very rare for us. And a couple of guys are in trouble. So it was a very composed game last night in terms of discipline, but Yarrow took a good professional foul and making sure we weren't going to let in a leaky goal to have a 3-1 finish. But Generally, Justin, I feel like my big highlights from last night are rotation. We rotated back to our preferred starting 11 right now, and it's working. It's getting results. These guys, I think that team is this version of this 11 undefeated. They came in San Jose, they won. They also beat Toronto. Who did we play at home? Because they didn't play against LAFC where we lost. Who did they? I think this 11 might be undefeated.
I mean, it's also, I mean, you bring that up also as well. When we score first, we are 11-0-2,
Silly.
which is just insane. And I love that. I mean, that's just once you score, and that's kind of getting to that ruthlessness part that we talked about with Cornell. It's like once you score first, step on their throats. I mean, I understand there's been a couple times where we haven't, but we at least stay competitive for the rest of the game, which I'd love to see.
Yeah, and otherwise highlights set piece delivery, AZ, ND, Leuven, all great last night. We had some good tackling last night too. I thought Akil Watts had a quiet, pretty solid game as well, stepping up when he needed to, and some crunching tackles as well. We had some no BS defending. Parker had a great night. I thought great sending him to the All-Star game. On that note, I thought he had a pretty solid performance with 5 clearances last night. Just no frills, no BS. Just get the ball away. If it's dangerous and you feel pressure, no point in being a hero here. Let's just get rid of it and reset. And our chance creation relative to possession last night, we had not a lot of possession at all, but we had 11 shots on target, which is a great stat. And our midfield trio of AZ, Indy, and Blum had 7 key passes between them. So a great performance from the midfield, I'd say specifically, and the back line. You're going to say Adeniran probably had a good game as well because he had the goal as well. But I still don't think we're clicking as well on our forward line as we should be. And we'll get to that here in the lowlights. But stats-wise, Justin, looks like we ended up on 1.40 XG last night compared to their 0.66. And we had about a third of the possession compared to their 2/3. We missed our 2 big chances, though. That's one thing I want to say here, and we'll get into that in the lowlights. But yeah, we scored 3 goals. But we also missed 2 great opportunities from open play that we probably should net, and we can't always count on set pieces to deliver those goals for us. So we're going to need to get better at that.
No, I agree with that, Jake. I'm still struggling with myself on this whole XG thing. I know it's like a 2023 big stats thing. Like, how do we only have 1.4 expected goals? You're telling me that if you round down, that they only expected us to score 1 goal in that game? I mean, one, we scored 3, we missed 2 big chances. How do you have 2 big chances and have less than 1? I just go back and forth from that. But
I could tell you, I mean, like, if you just look at our goals, just for example, Leuven's free kick had a 0.05 XG on it. That was a deep free kick. That was a deep free kick. Parker's header on his goal was 0.1 XG. Again, these are not easy to score. Adeniran's header was 0.06. So we made the most of those limited opportunities. That's just the chance. Like, when you're looking at it objectively, what do you think is going to happen?
I get it, but when you now put the 0.6, 0.1, whatever, Parker 0.10 or 0.1, fine. 10% of the time he scores that. Okay. Sam Adeniran, you're telling me you whip in 100 corners and that man only scores 6 of them? My butt. And then also Leuven's free kick, he only scores 5 out of 100 from what, 22 yards? No, this whole XG thing, I go back and forth on it. Sorry I know it's a lot of stats go into it, but knowing soccer, not true.
You heard it here
I'm getting heated on this Sunday, Jake. That's some absolute bull crap.
Justin knows better.
All 3 of our goals sum to what? 0.21 XG.
Yeah, it's not a lot. But for perspective, Stroud's opportunity that he missed, that really great opportunity, that was 0.3 XG. And so that was our best opportunity of the night. The Nico one, I'm trying to think when that came. That was 65th minute, right? I can fast forward to see his opportunity. Nico's opportunity was a 0.22. So those 2 are our best opportunities of the night. I'm just saying, unless you're getting a PK, it's hard to get above a 0.3.
Yeah, I mean, the Stroud one, that's a ball coming in on over the top. He scores it. You say 0.3, so he scores it a third of the time. Fine. Yep. But you're telling me Sam Adeniran only puts away 6% of corner kicks? Sorry, I'm getting heated, Jake. I
can tell. We're gonna have to bleep some of this out of the podcast. We got potty mouth.
No, I didn't say any bad words. I stopped myself. Yeah, whatever. Otherwise, everything else is red. We pretty much took them in everything except for passing, which we love to do is be under on the actual possession. But Jake, let's touch on lowlights real quick.
Yeah. So I for as good as the scoreline looks for us, I still don't think it was perfect. Miami did a great job stretching the play last night in terms of the width, where I feel like we don't really use width much anymore. We play extremely narrow up the middle of the field, and we kind of balance our attack. I think they did a good job of letting our press kind of collapse on one side of the field and then releasing it with a big switch and trying to go with speed there. They had some good success doing that. There was a couple, other individual moments. I think we still get beat too easily sometimes because of our press, especially in like the middle or defensive third for us, where one of our center backs, fullbacks steps up to defend someone. And if they have a runner coming to them and they're going to do like a 1-2, we get exposed so easily there. And they had a couple chances like that last night. Specifically, I wrote a couple down, like where it was just a 1-2, where they're down to the goal line and they're going to try to hit across it and see who can finish it. There was really only one of those that I thought really generated a good chance, and that was Campana in the 56th minute, where we were beaten behind. I think Hebert was beat, and then Parker had to try to cover and couldn't block the cross. Gets across to Campana, who kind of was meeting Berkey, and he didn't get a good touch on it, and he ended up trying to head it at a tough angle into the goal. Didn't work out for them. That was like, I think, their best chance of the night in terms of XG. But otherwise, I just feel like we're still missing some big chances in open play. We already mentioned that. You've got to be able to put those away in open play. You can't only rely on set pieces, but set pieces you've got to keep clicking on. So I'm happy about that. My big thing on a post you, Justin, is we saw Alm start kind of on it was basically last night like a 4-1-2-1-2. And that's kind of why we're losing some width, where it's our back four, Blum, Stroud, and Indy, Jackson in front of them, and then Alm and Adeniran. Alm, to me, just kind of looks lost out there. I think he's a good player, but I don't think this formation specifically really brings his best.
No, I would agree. I feel, and not only he probably feels a little lost because he's kind of in and out of the lineup as well, Jake. I think it's hard being one of those guys. Like, am I going to start? Am I going to not? Am I even going to play? And so once he does get in, I feel like him and Ostrak, those are one of those guys where the ceiling is higher than what we've seen. I'd see a lot of these guys that we've already talked about this year are playing out of their shoes. But those two guys are guys that I thought would be a little bit better this year and just haven't been that full potential yet. Yeah. But I think it will come. They just need a couple more minutes or a couple more consistent starts, and then we'll get there.
Yeah, no, I agree. My last thing I'll say is just letting teams consistently play with width is okay if we're going to control and win every single cross and not let them dribble into the middle here. But we've got to be able to be confident in that. And we kind of gave Miami a little bit of hope last night. Second half, they kind of woke up a little bit, and we managed it for the most part. But there were some moments there where it got a little nervy for sure, and you don't want to let that in against a team that's really lacking. I think they're one of the worst teams in terms of offensive output. So if you can't prevent those teams from getting chances, how do you expect to do that against, one of the teams that does create very easily? So not perfect, but not bad at all last night from the defense. So let's talk performances. Berkey did the job last night. Almost contributed on the offensive end a couple times. So I'm going to give him an A across the board. He hung out in the air. He had some great grabs from crosses, and he had a couple good saves, one off the line, like you mentioned. A for me. Back line, I'm also going to give the A to. A clean sheet, how do you not? But I'd say specifically, I liked Yarrow and Parker last night. Center back pairing looked great. And I also liked Akil Watts. Akil Watts still, he is to me cemented number one right back now. It is his to lose.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And we haven't had a highlight or a low light from Hebert, and one of those guys that like we typically, starting in the season, he was kind of like one of our staples at center back, and now we're putting him at the left. And I know that left back has been changing a lot. At this point, give me Johnny again, to be honest. I think Johnny gives us a little bit more attacking threat as well. So, but I will say, backline A, moving into the midfield, you look at Stroud, Blum, and Indy. I would give them probably like an A minus. Again, one of those things, like I think Indy had some great free kicks. Blum, it's one of those guys with Edu. They get the job done. You don't have a lot of highlights or lowlights because they do so much work that you don't really see on stats. And then I thought Stroud got into dangerous positions. I know he had that one big chance missed, but overall I thought he did well as well getting forward.
Yeah, he looked lost at times sometimes. I'm talking about Jared Stroud, but I also think when he was in it, he was in it. Like we have a comment from Rick in here saying he had the most duels and the most won. So he's another guy where quietly puts in performances where it's not going to necessarily pop up on the eye test, but in the stats underlying, he's a big contributor for us. I still think that is his position to lose as well. I think he's on the team sheet every single 11. Yeah. If you're playing your preferred 11. AZ, what else, what more do you want to say about this man? He's 21. He's single-handedly carrying our creative spark right now. Yeah, you have guys like Indy and guys like Leuven that do chip in, definitely. But he is so much fun to watch. There is just no other way to describe him. He is just fun. He has such good technical ability, and that vision that he has on that next pass or the lifted ball over the top. He's just got precision as well in his passing locker. I want to see that end product. I want to see him grow in confidence and not feel afraid to let loose on some of these shots as well. I think he could have had some more last night, but man, am I very, very happy with his development. And I just want to see him continually get more and more reps.
He's been absolutely killing it. And I think as we look even more a little bit forward, I would say then came off for the 60th for Nico. I give him probably like a B minus. I think he did fine, or B. B is fine. We still won the game. There's no one that played awful. Sam Dinneran, I'd give him another A, dude. Just on the ball, off the ball, scoring. Just that man knows how to use his body. And then Jake, we don't touch on it a whole lot, but I thought the subs did a great job. I know, especially, and maybe it's top of my mind, just talking about how we kind of let the game down in the LAFC. Nico in the 60th. Nico played pretty well. Leuven came in the 61st. Great free kick goal, and also just owning the midfield. Ostrak on in the 69th. I thought he did pretty well. Celio in the 70th. Just, we've already talked about all the highlights with him. And then even Nowinski came on for Akil Watts in the 78th, which is tough to kind of replace a defending line when you're up 3 or up 2-0 at that point and don't want to let in another goal. I even thought Nowinski played pretty well, especially with that side volley.
And listen to yourself again. This was polar opposite the LAFC game, where we were asking for subs to come on and be impactful, provide a positive force, give us some legs, give us something fresh. And we got that. And look what happens when you get that. You close a game out, you add a goal, and you put the nail in the coffin, and you send them home packing. That's what a good sub window looks like, is those guys come on and make impacts like that. And or at least they don't drop the level.
No, completely agree. And I know we're kind of pushing up on time here, and we got a lot of listener questions. So let's hop into it. But predictions, Grahammers, you predicted a 3-0 dub. Great job, Jake. Did you put that in the app?
I did. Someone told me that they also predicted it right one time, and they didn't hear anything. So I don't know what happens there, but we'll report back.
We'll shoot C-back an email.
Yeah.
We'll figure that one out. I predicted a 3-1. Sorry, I didn't think we'd keep a clean sheet. We usually leaky. Not leaky last night. Love to be wrong in that sense. Your bet, parlay, City money line with the over 1.5, minus 140, smacked. Even in the first half of the over 1.5. And then minus 1.5, my first ever taking a game line that we're not just going to win. I didn't want to lay money on the minus 190 money line. Take a minus 1.5 plus 150, smacked.
Yeah, it was a green night. It was definitely a green night. It was City red and green for the money that was earned. We definitely made some moolah last night. So make sure you guys are following us here. We always do those in the preview.
And I'm going to hop us straight into where do we go from here? Jake, we now own a mansion in Miami. So we're in Miami. We just absolutely own the city. I mean, I think we just moved in with Messi.
Yeah, we're moving in rent free to Messi's head. That's funny because like that'll be the first session I'm sure he sits through where like they break down film and stuff, and just what St. Louis just did to his team. So we're moving in next door, but magic number time. Not going to do too much here because I know you're building that model still. But long story short, 41 points we have right now. Usually about 45 points does it for you just to get into the playoffs. We're not going to stop there. We're going to keep going and try to cement home field in as best positioning as we possibly can. But for anyone that's wondering, it's looking more and more likely like we are going to be here, and deservedly so. It's been a great, great start to the season for this team. Excited to see what we do in the final stretch here. But we do have some listener questions in place of our hypotheticals this week, but we're going to try to knock them down here. So stick with us because actually there's some really good ones on here. So thank you all for submitting these on Twitter. But we got a question from Bill here, Justin. And Bill asks, is St. Louis's low team passing accuracy a function of its low possession percentage? The answer would seem to be yes, but it still seems some improvement should be a goal. Do you guys agree?
No, I don't think it needs to be a goal. I will say the passing percentage, I think it's because we take more chances. And a lot of that is specifically because we're such a high pressing team and we know the energy drink soccer, right? When we take the ball, we're trying to put a guy in immediately. So a lot of those are not going to hit, but we create chances. So in my opinion, we've talked about it. I think the lower possession that we have, the better the game. We had third of the possession last night and won 3-0. So I would love to keep it up. What are your thoughts?
I concur. A soft goal maybe to get better a little bit, at least at passing accuracy, sure. But we do take a lot of chances, more than most teams do. So I think that's just a product of what's going on with our playing style. We got another comment, Justin, from Stacy, I believe here, is saying that Berkey looked like he might have hurt his arm last night. Is everything okay? Okay, first of all, I saw that as well. He played through it, and afterwards he looked like he was okay. So unless we hear anything, I assume he's just fine. I feel like an arm injury to a goalkeeper probably would have been a little more drastic in terms of action, but I feel like he's also a leader. He's not going to come out of the game.
Well, also if he's okay, he's playing it. Was is in the skills competition in 2 days. The
Yep.
All-Star game's in 3 days.
Yep.
So I mean, we'll know immediately. Like the man's not going to push anything like that.
No.
He's a veteran. He's not going to try to just play in some fun games for free. So if he's not, we'll know immediately. And then also update on Joao. We talked about it. I mean, we talked about it in the preview, but I would say he's for sure back when we play Austin on August 20th, which is a month from now. We'll see if we try to push him into Leagues Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe give him a couple minutes. But there's no point in pushing that because I really don't care about Leagues Cup.
Yeah. And we have some Leagues Cup questions coming up here too.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't want to push him at all. I honestly still don't think he's a lock for the Austin game, just because this has been such a saga. I mean, who knows? We thought he was gonna be a lock like 3 weeks ago.
Yes, but Jake, the Austin game is 4 weeks from now.
I understand. But remember his initial injury timeline was 2 to 4 weeks.
Oh,
and
I understand.
Now it's felt like it's been a year.
It's been 2 to 4 months.
Yeah.
But there's no chance we give him another month. The man
I really hope not. I hope not. Another question we had from Brooks was, as of last night, Josh Sharrow is in my best 11 without ever seeing Nilsson playing, of course. And number 2, hot take, Nico is not in my starting 11. So just to break that down, I don't know yet if I'm going to say Yaro's in my starting 11 center back pairing as of this moment, but he's knocking on it. That's for sure. And Nico, definitely not at the number 9, at the 4 position in my best 11. Maybe out on like the left wing or something, or as a winger. But I'm struggling with that one as well.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And Jake, we got a ton of these. So I'm going to run to the next one real quick. How seriously do we anticipate City taking Leagues Cup from Dan? I would say we're going to take it somewhat seriously, but I would make it very similar to what we did with the Open Cup. See a lot of guys. We're going to get some rotation in there. Would love to see a little Caden Glover, maybe a little Johnny Klein, and some other guys that could use some minutes and just rest legs. In my opinion, I don't really like these whole tournaments running coincide in the middle with the regular season. So, I mean, we'll take it seriously. It's still a good competition, but it'll be a better time for more guys to get minutes. I think we'll see Ben Lute.
Yeah, I could see that as well. I hope so for the guy as well. Give him some minutes, give him an opportunity. We got a question about just kind of rotation and injuries and how, if a player like Leuven isn't ready to play 90 or even a half, why not start him and sub him when necessary instead of starting him on the bench? I think a point there to be made is always better to bring on a guy to get some minutes when the other team isn't fresh, and let him come on against some more tired legs and kind of grow into the game versus being thrown right into the mixer at the very beginning. That'd be my thought to it. But I could opt for a guy like him either way. We kind of said maybe he should start, but you don't know if he's ready to give a full half. I don't think you want to make a sub in the first half and burn that. So
no, I thought he would have started, but Leuven specifically. But I mean, I thought even coming on, he did great. So it's just good to see him get more minutes as well. And I mean, kind of ease back into this long season. Not too worried about it. Quick one from Ryan here that I like, Jake, was, are you worried about the lack of goals from open play? We've only scored 2 from our last 5 games and 5 in our previous 9. Not saying it's a problem because we're scoring from set pieces, but curious to hear your take. I'm not overly concerned. Those stats are kind of surprising to me, to be honest. I will say, once we have Klaus back, I feel like that's an automatic finisher. Nico has dipped a little bit in these past couple games, but like we say, just because he's not finishing doesn't mean he's not playing well. He's playing well off the ball. And I think we're creating a lot of chances. We just haven't finished them. I would like to see, I mean, Stroud's had a couple big chances these past couple games. I like to see a couple finishes there. AZ could easily have another goal or 2. So I'm not overly concerned. I think it's great that we're scoring from set pieces. We're creating the chances. We just got to be a little bit more clinical in the finishing third.
I'm with you. Did you answer the question about how seriously are we taking the Leagues Cup, Justin?
Yeah.
already? Yeah. No, I agree with your answer.
Similar to the Open Cup.
Yeah, similar to Open Cup, but I also like in terms of what we are trying to get out of it. I think an early exit would be unfortunate, but okay in terms of the grand scheme of things for us. Obviously, could afford some more rest, especially heading the last run of games here, and having some questions about depth and wanting to make sure that we're all healthy and ready to go for that final stretch. So we'll see. I definitely think they're not going to take it lightly, but coming up against Crew in Club America is a tough freaking group. So it's not going to get that much easier.
The game is going to be great though, so I'm looking forward to
They
them.
will
But
be.
yeah, I would definitely is don't turn the TV off. I think this is going to be a time where you're going to see a lot of guys. I mean, think about the Open Cup. That's where AZ shined, and look where he is now. So this is a time for guys that have not either been in the starting lineup or haven't even been on the first team consistently to show why they should be. And it's a great problem to have in the locker room. We have a ton of hungry guys. So I would love to see a little bit of, like I said, Johnny, Caden Glover. We'll see Ben Lute, I'm sure, in those games as well.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And one more, Jake, that I want to touch on real quick. So I kind of like this. After a couple weeks of transfer rumors, it's all gone quiet. Good or bad sign. For me, Pedro was an obvious contender to go out on loan or leave permanently with an attacking left wing back that is strong on both sides of the ball. Must be in terms of recruitment. This is from Steve. So I kind of, not going to lie, Jake, kind of forgot about Pedro. Like, we are kind of just holding on to a great asset there. And it's not a bad thing that the rumor bills have gone quiet because it doesn't mean that the team's not doing anything. We keep everything close to the chest. I mean, we've seen it on Twitter, a couple other guys, especially from overseas, and that Lutz is just working. I don't know if that man sleeps. So just because we're not hearing it doesn't mean that's a bad thing. I think stuff's in the works, but also, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We have 41 points top of the table going into the All-Star break.
Yeah, and the last thing you want to do, there's perspectives on both sides. Think proactive, fill the team, fill the voids, fill the gaps, that make sure that we have good quality depth in places that we don't have right now. But it's also, you don't want to mess with team chemistry. And we're also, only 11 games left in this regular season. But this is the good window in terms of available players because all the European teams are on break right now. So a lot of your talent that we've amassed would be available in this window. So I don't think you'll hear much about it anyways, and I'm not overly worried about the transfer window right now. Yes, we have some gaps. Most teams do, but we're doing well with the depth and the personnel that we have, so I'm not overly worried.
We have gaps that have been filled by rotational guys that, like, now we're stepping up and becoming main guys. Like, we have a problem of having too many good players that were like our starting lineup. We already talked about it on 590. 20, what is it now? 21 of our 23 games has had a different starting lineup.
That's right.
A great problem to have. So I don't think we need to really look much further.
I'm with you. And we have some more questions, but let's tackle these just in the next preview. A couple of them about like just our overall depth chart and stuff, which I think we could spend some more time on as a whole, as its own topic. But thank you all for joining today. A little bit longer of an episode, but got to celebrate a momentous 23 games for this club. It's gone by really quick, I feel like, but 41 points. I mean, what more could you ask for? What a phenomenal stretch of games. And I'm hoping that make some waves in the League's Cup here, but hopefully get some rest as well and just gear up to fight the next third of the season.
Going into a great long month off from regular season. I mean, stay tuned for the All-Star break the All-Star game, skills competition. You'll see Berkey and Tim out there. I mean, we got League's Cup coming up. We'll be previewing and recapping all of those. But at this point in the season, Jake, I joked about it earlier, but could not have a better start from these guys, and I'm extremely proud.
Yeah, and you all should be as well. We've been a big part of it as the fans here, making City Park an absolute fortress. So let's make sure it's like that when we have Club America here coming up here soon. But we will be back with you all, I think, on Thursday for a Sunday game against the Crew. But until then, hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday if you're listening now, and a great rest of your week if you're listening during the week. And we will talk to you all soon. All for City.
All for City.